Okay, think about this for a second. We live in the most connected, visually vibrant, and stimulus-heavy era in all of human history. Yet, there's this bizarre paradox unfolding right now. Modern humans are actively fleeing from this vibrant reality, and instead, we're diving headfirst into incredibly terrifying, deeply isolated, and totally empty digital spaces, just to escape.
So you really have to ask yourself, why? Why on earth does our tired, overworked brain actually crave these chilling, empty voids instead of, warm, vibrant, happy spaces? What is fundamentally breaking down inside our cognitive architecture that makes a terrifyingly lonely hallway suddenly feel like a comforting embrace?
Welcome to the ASMN channel. This content is prepared under the supervision of Arvin. Today, we're going to conduct a deep psychological autopsy in this explainer to uncover the hidden truths of the modern mind. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll hit the hyper-connected mind crisis, the biology of attention fatigue, seeking refuge in liminality, the digital collective unconscious, penetrating the architecture of sleep, and finally, reclaiming identity and agency.
Section 1. The hyper-connected mind crisis, evolutionary rupture, and cognitive bombardment.
All right, take a deep breath, because we are plunging right into the intense breakdown of our cognitive crisis. We are literally experiencing an evolutionary rupture. Our nervous systems are just relentlessly slamming into this highly engineered information ecosystem, and it's throwing our brains into a state of severe chronic hypervigilance. To put the sheer scale of this problem into perspective, violently contrast these two realities. Back in 1990, a normal human processed about 3,000 conscious and subconscious decisions a day. Today, in the attention economy, we're processing over 35,000 micro-decisions daily. I mean, our mammalian brains simply were not built for a 340-fold increase in data density. It is a relentless bombardment.
Which leads us directly to cognitive overload. And to be clear, this isn't just feeling kind of tired at the end of a long day. This is a recognized clinical state. It happens when the sheer volume of information processing demands totally exceeds your working memory capacity. Basically, your mental RAM is maxed out. The result? Profound brain fog, analytical paralysis, and just a complete breakdown of our fundamental cognitive architecture.
Section 2. Biology of attention fatigue, biological collapse.
Okay, let's step back from the fast-paced noise of the data for a moment and look at the body. Because what we're looking at isn't just a mental quirk, it's a stark, measurable biological collapse. First, to filter out all that modern static, your prefrontal cortex burns through its metabolic resources at a frankly alarming rate. Second, this triggers what's known as directed attention fatigue. You actually, biologically, lose the ability to focus. And third, to compensate for that, your autonomic nervous system completely panics. It locks you into a chronic fight-or-flight state, continuously pumping cortisol into your bloodstream. You are structurally inflamed and constantly on edge.
So the absolutely crucial point here is this. We have completely eliminated attention gaps. Think about it. In the past, waiting in line or riding a bus were moments of actual silence. Today, we fill every single tiny void with a screen. We have systematically destroyed the empty, silent moments our brains naturally require to reset, to metabolize all that cortisol, and to just heal.
Section 3. Seeking refuge in liminality, the mind's defense mechanism. As our biology collapses under the massive weight of this overload, the psyche initiates a desperate and honestly almost eerie defense mechanism. The mind begins to hunt for absolute absence. Enter attention restoration theory. When your working memory is overloaded and your prefrontal cortex is totally depleted, your psyche develops an urgent, desperate need for an environment that demands zero processing. This is exactly why we have this bizarre subconscious attraction to liminal spaces. Those empty, identity-less transit zones like abandoned malls, empty hallways, or quiet, dimly lit waiting rooms. These images have blown up online because they offer a pure escape from the heavy burden of constantly decoding reality.
But actually, there's a really chilling side effect to this. Gestalt psychology calls it a failure of presence. See, when our mind encounters these environments that are artificially emptied of human context, our normal cognition gets disrupted. Because the image has no story of its own, it basically becomes a blank canvas. And what do we do with a blank canvas? We project our repressed modern traumas, our hidden anxieties, and our profound sense of isolation right onto it. So that comforting emptiness, it quickly transforms into something deeply unsettling.
Section 4. Digital collective unconscious, the internet as the material body.
Now this brings us to the deepest, darkest point of our whole narrative.
We are no longer just isolated individuals projecting our fears. The internet itself has evolved into a giant, pulsating neural network for our collective terrors. Carl Jung talked about the classic unconscious, right? Ancient myths and dreams rooted in biology. But the digital unconscious is a whole different beast. Its foundation is distributed data networks. Instead of ancient art, it manifests through viral visual trends. And instead of deep clinical psychoanalysis that takes years, AI algorithms instantly extract and quantify our psychological shadows. We've literally built a virtual collective consciousness, a globally synchronized network that instantly shares a visual language of human trauma.
And remember, we are dealing with algorithms without awareness here. They have no soul, they have no empathy, it's just math. Yet by analyzing how long you linger on a mildly unsettling image of an empty room at 2 a.m., they extract your subconscious archetypes. They organize your hidden behavioral patterns. They literally reproduce our modern myths as viral visual trends, terrifyingly translating our deepest existential fears into shared global symbols with absolute mathematical precision.
Section 5. Penetrating Architecture of Sleep. The Clinical Emergence of Social Media Nightmares. And if you thought you could just turn off your phone to escape this algorithmic extraction, well, the clinical data suggests otherwise. This invasion goes all the way down into the very architecture of our sleep. We're now seeing the clinical emergence of social media-related nightmares, or SMNS. This is the terrifying reality where your digital anxieties, like the fear of being left on red, the endless doom scrolling, the loss of agency, literally merge with your ancient archetypal fears of being hunted in the dark. The virtual collective consciousness is actively hijacking the architecture of your dreams, injecting processed collective terrors into your deepest, most defenseless mental layers.
Section 6. Reclaiming Identity and Agency. Treatment Path and Emotional Arc.
Okay, we have been in the dark for a while, but it's time to rise back up to the light. Because simply understanding this mechanism is the absolutely crucial first step on our pathway to liberation. The treatment path requires some actual work, though. We must actively dissect these eerie feelings and algorithmic pulls. We have to engage in conscious individuation, and that is not just some self-help buzzword, it is an absolute clinical necessity. We must purposefully separate our own identity from the collective digital noise if we want to prevent mass psychosis. It's really the only way to heal our fragmented psyches and reclaim our human agency against these incredibly powerful immoral algorithms.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this lingering mystery to ponder. The suspension of human identity in the limbo of the digital age, where old symbols have lost their soothing power. The ancient myths just don't calm us anymore, and the new digital symbols only seem to amplify our anxiety. We are caught right in the middle. So where do you locate your true self, when the very spaces you escape to are designed to reflect your own emptiness?
This explainer only scratches the surface of a much deeper, highly contested psychological landscape. If you want to know what debates and disagreements exist regarding this topic, be sure to listen to the debate podcast on the ASMS channel. The journey to understand the modern mind definitely continues over there. Thank you so much for learning with me today.